We're now just past T-minus 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And that means Falcon 9 is stepping into the final phases of terminal count. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final checkouts to make sure all primary systems are working in flight. Those checkouts include the communication systems and the avionics systems, which are all looking nominal. Engine chill began a few minutes ago at T-minus 7 minutes. That gets the engines cold enough to safely move propellant, which is all a couple hundred degrees below zero, without causing it to accidentally boil upon that initial contact. Next checkouts are the thrust vector control checkouts at T-minus 3 minutes. We wiggle the engines to make sure they'll be able to properly steer Falcon 9 during ascent at that point. And at T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will enter startup mode. The rocket is then in control of the remainder of the countdown. Dragon's also performing its own final checkouts to make sure all of its primary systems will work in flight over the 3 days it's going to take to rendezvous with the space station. And just before liftoff, watch to see the strongback retract. The strongback, or the transporter erector, is the frame that you see standing up right just next to Falcon 9 on the left there. And it retracting gives Falcon 9 a bit more clearance during launch. Overall, range is a go. Weather-wise, everything's looking good. So at this point, let's listen in to the last couple minutes of terminal count.
Stage 1 locks to close out for flight. Stage 2 locks to close out for flight. Gas cold has started. Vehicles in startup.
Go for launch.
Gas closeout's complete. Stage 1 tanks press on for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, liftoff.
Stage 1 pump is nominal.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
telemetry nominal.
And there you saw we had a successful liftoff of the Falcon 9. If you were watching closely, you also saw the strong back retract just during that initial part. We're currently throttling down the main engines in order to minimize some of the pressure as we move through supersonic. And coming up next, max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, where the rocket's pushing hardest against the atmosphere.
Vehicle is supersonic.
And then we just had a call out the vehicle's supersonic. Max Q coming up shortly. That's when the rocket's moving very quickly and hasn't quite gotten out of the atmosphere yet, so it's getting a lot of pressure.
Vehicle has reached maximum dynamic pressure.
And there it's made it through that milestone, which is a major part of every rocket launch. Coming up about 45 seconds from now, we'll have a few events in quick succession. The main engines will cut off, the two stages will separate, and the second stage will ignite.
MVAC engine chill.
The call out for MVAC engine chill means that just like the first stage engines, the second stage engine is also being cooled down to be ready for moving all that super cold propellant through it. That main engine cutoff event coming up not too long from now.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there you saw it. The main engine's cut off.
MVAC ignition.
The two stages separated. And MVAC,
Stage 1 AFTSS safe.
burning really bright, has begun. The second stage is now carrying Dragon towards low Earth orbit. Again, we are not following the first stage.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory.
We're not recovering this one. In fact, it's the last Block 4 vehicle as we transition to Block 5.
Bermuda acquisition of signal.
We're now at T plus 4 minutes. The Merlin vacuum engine is looking great, and we are on a nominal trajectory towards that initial low Earth orbit. The second stage is going to drop Dragon off in that low Earth orbit, and Dragon will be raising itself over the next 3 days to connect or to rendezvous with the International Space Station. It'll be there for about a month, and then it will also be bringing back the that latching end effector, which is the hand of Canadarm. It'll be bringing back the old one when it returns.
Position at New Hampshire.
You'll also notice that there's a lot more detail that you can see on the Merlin vacuum engine. It's actually flying into daylight right now, which is why some of that detail is more visible. We're at T plus 5.5 minutes. Merlin vacuum engine still performing nominally, headed on the right trajectory to get to low Earth orbit. Has about 3 minutes remaining in this burn. It's an interesting semantic point that the process of connecting Dragon to the International Space Station is called berthing, with an E, because it is brought into the station by Canadarm, while docking refers specifically to two spacecraft that connect without any external assistance. This stems from the old shipping days in which small ships would come into harbor and dock themselves under their own power. But larger ships, which aren't able to navigate as easily in harbors, are met by tugboats and then berthed. So for the International Space Station, that robotic Canadarm is like a tugboat, and so Dragon is also berthed.
Vehicle remains on a nominal trajectory.
We're just coming up on T plus 7 minutes. The vehicle's still on a nominal trajectory towards low Earth orbit. And Merlin vacuum engine still performing great. We've got about a minute and 10 seconds left in this second stage burn. We're at T plus 8 minutes.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
The second stage is
Stage
starting
2
to throttle the
AFDS is safe.
MVAC-D engine in order to prepare for shutdown. That shutdown event coming up only a few seconds from now.
Eco.
And there you can see the second stage engine has shut down.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Acquisition of signal.
And we've also just gotten confirmation that the orbit that the second stage and Dragon are in is a nominal orbit. So at the moment, both Dragon and the second stage are coasting. And Dragon is shortly going to deploy from the second stage. That's when the second stage is going to release Dragon so that it can carry itself to the International Space Station over the next couple of days. 3 days, to be specific.
Payload deploy confirmed.
This is CC on countdown, Dragon from
And there
separation.
you see it. Dragon has successfully deployed